to get some awesome commentary going here. I know I got to watch. I watched my own race back here with Kiwi, with tridenttail and yours commentary, and you guys did an awesome job on that.
Well, thank you. That was an awesome race.
It was
always
a lot
fun
of
when you
fun.
get PB versus PB.
It was really crazy to watch back. All right, so we're getting started here. First track, Ancient Lake. As a heads up, the way this tournament has been set up is in, this is the group stage currently. I believe we have 32 players total, 4 in each, so 8 groups. tridenttail is at the top of his group as a Seed 1 player. I believe his personal best is a 2507. And Mano, I'm not entirely sure about. I think he has a mid-28. I don't know if you had the chance to look that up at all, Blue Sox.
I did, but my internet's down right now, apparently.
Oh, man, that's a shame.
He is in the 28.
The 28 range is pretty big, too.
28-34. Yep.
Okay, 28-34. About, yeah, mid-28. And it looks like we're actually doing this, we're doing this backwards here. It looks like Mano is starting FFL with Space Dust Alley here on the right. And tridenttail is starting Dino Domain first here on the left. So this is actually hard to commentate on because these are both awesome tracks to talk about. Space Dust Alley, the track on the right, is a very difficult track. But there's a really interesting trick here in Fossil Canyon that Trident is going to be trying to pull off on each lap. It's called Canyonless. It's a play on the Mario 64 trick, Canyonless, I believe. Basically what it entails is a pretty precise set of inputs right as they enter the tunnel here, and where they are going to switch drifting directions a total of 3 or 4 times to grab the blue balloon and then hit the zipper on the other side of the tunnel and fling themselves into the canyon at top speed. A 107 for Trident. That's not a bad time at all for Fossil Canyon. It's a really tough track, especially when you try to add Canyonless in there with it. So this is Jungle Falls coming up, the next Dino track. I think this is one of the most technical tracks in the game as far as separating the really good Diddy Kong Racing car players from the subpar. It's really hard to shave seconds off here, and it requires some really precise play. Basically, pressing the A button in this game, while it does accelerate you, what it also does is it limits your top speed, from what I understand. It caps it at a certain amount. But these boosters will allow you to go past that certain amount as long as the A button is not being pressed. And that goes for all speed in the game, period. For instance, this next track coming up, Hot Dog Volcano, you're going to see our first clip of the game in the plane. There are quite a few plane clips used in this run. There we go, Trident's out of bounds. And normally when people are out of bounds like this, what they do is they barrel roll as much as they can. And what that does is it caps your speed out. It maxes it out really quickly. So they're just going to go, he's going to do a really narrow loop back and forth up and down the track here to try and get a really fast time. And while Trident's doing this, he's not holding the A button. Again, that's going to cap his top speed. So that's one form of plane speed tech that really makes you go fast. It is, however, very difficult to control. Being out of bounds like this, it's actually pretty easy, but as you'll see later on tracks like Space Dust Alley, which Mano was just doing, it can be really unforgiving, and bonking into something at top speed, bonking into it and being sent backwards, it totally kills your speed, sends you to 0 immediately, and it takes about 5 seconds to recover from that, so you can lose a lot of time if you don't play your plane tracks well. So I think we just lost Blue Sox out of the Discord, sadly. Hopefully his internet figures stuff out. We'll get a little bit of commentary from him back in later. All right, first hovercar track for Trident here. And I want to cover both racers here for sure, because it's interesting to see 2 racers at different levels. But Trident is playing some of the tracks that feature a little bit more of the speed tech and some of the stuff that runners have figured out over the years. So with the hovercar, Same principles apply. Holding the A button does make you accelerate, but holding it down caps your speed. So one thing we do to try to get as fast as we can is we actually tap the A button. When you initially accelerate, you get a little bit more of a boost than what it actually caps you to. So you can actually just continue to apply that speed boost as you go, just by tapping the A button. We do this in every vehicle once we hit top speed. So it's a tap that goes about 4 times a second, which sounds like it's really annoying, but when you consider the fact that we're not holding the A button while we're boosting, hitting any zippers, using any blue balloons, that kind of thing, it's actually not nearly as bad as it sounds. There are very, very few long stretches of track where you're just tapping the hell out of the A button. And again, it is 4 times a second, so it's a little faster than it. It's not just mashing it, to put that simply. We aren't just absolutely destroying the A button as if it were a Mario Party minigame or something like that. It's a steady tap. So every vehicle has tapping that works differently. In the hover car, tapping the A button while just trying to go straight doesn't actually do much. But when you're in the hover car and you're going fast and you want to try and keep speed, the hover car actually goes faster while it's turning. So what you'll see a lot of these racers do is they'll wiggle back and forth and keep the hover car in a constant state of turning. So they're doing that while they're tapping the A button, and that helps them max out their speed. Very good Pirate Lagoon from Trident there on the left. Corndog Must Die says, so who is winning? Great question. It's hard to say, and that's actually kind of the downside to them not running the same tracks in the same order, is we're not really sure who's in the lead and who is not. The Feature Funland tracks that Mano is running right now, he's on the last one of this trophy race, are very, very long and usually takes around 6 minutes to complete, in comparison to maybe 4 minutes max for the Dino Domain tracks. Trident is already on the 3rd track in the Sherbert Island trophy race. So Trident is 7 tracks in. Mano just finished his 4th. Again, those first 4 for Mano are going to be much longer than Trident, so it's hard to say who's in the lead here. We'll have to make sure that they actually do the same order next time. So Mano was just executing an out-of-bounds trick on the last track there, Spaceport Alpha. Basically, there's a pillar on the side of the map, and bonking into the wall there will allow you to actually sink down inside the pillar and go out of bounds and execute very similar strats to what you saw earlier with Trident Tail's clip out of bound in the track Top Volcano. Last track for Trident here as he goes into Treasure Caves on the 4th trophy race. Mano just starting out on Boulder Canyon, the last hover car track in the run. So there's 3 hover car tracks in total, 5 plane tracks, which leaves 12 car tracks.
Hey there, Sweeter. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure can. How's it going, Blue Sox?
There we go. Well, I tried rebooting everything, and apparently that worked.
All right.
Router, computer, modem, everything got unplugged and plugged in. That's apparently the key to fixing everything.
Turn it off and turn it back on. Ta-da! So you're able to view the stream and everything?
Yep.
Awesome.
Trophy race.
So right now, what I'm trying to do for our audience is actually try to decipher who's in the lead here, since they are running different sets of tracks. But
well, that's true, yeah, because Trident's on his 9th of 20.
Yep.
And Mano's on
5th, I think.
5th, yep. Well,
Yep.
about to be 6th.
6 now, yeah.
Except, obviously, Future Funland is a lot longer.
Much longer in terms of just track length, and naturally it has a plane track, Space Dust Alley being the first one there. That is really tough to do well. So there might have been some time lost there as well in terms of the general length that we see here on speed gaming and such.
True, and we see Trident hitting a tree there on the left, and you can see that in the plane, hitting anything is just really painful. You lose all your speed in the plane, and it takes a long time to accelerate back up to the point where you can barrel roll and start to build up boosted speed again.
It is extremely difficult. For top players, this is a pretty easy track, and what I think really separates top players from even just the mid-tier, plane tracks are probably it. The amount of time that you can save on a plane track, on executing those well, is absolutely astounding. Even just on out-of-bounds tricks.
Yeah, you would think once you're out of bounds and just flying in circles, there's not much to it, but you even look at time trial times where there's no balloons to worry about on some of these courses, and the amount of difference between even the top racers can be pretty large.
No doubt about that. That's actually what is still, it drives me insane to this day, is just watching like Giz or even you Trident run and stuff, and seeing them get these times on these tracks, and I'm like, where do you save all the speed? Where does it come from? I don't understand. And it's just the tiniest little optimizations that give this game such an incredibly high skill cap in comparison to some other speed games out there. It's really interesting. So sadly, I actually missed I missed Mano. He's on the track called Windmill Plains now. It's the third track in the Dragon Force Trophy race. I don't know if he attempted the out of bounds or not. I happen to miss that.
He did not attempt it, so that's one place where a lot of time could be made up either way. Because I know Trident does do Windmill Plains out of bounds, but that's a painful one to miss if you don't get it on your first try.
For sure, this is probably one of the most unforgiving tracks in this speed run. It's mostly reliant on a very, very difficult to execute out of bounds trick. Coming right up here, you're gonna see Mano fly past it, and God knows I can't blame him. It's really, really tough to even just to practice it, to just go through that opening part of this track over and over and over again, only to fail it. You will see Trident attempt it earlier. Or attempt it later on in the run, excuse me. And it does save an impeccable amount of time.
Now we'll see on the left one of the main reasons that runners play with the music off. The snow effect on Frosty Village when the racers are not in this tunnel already produces a ton of lag on this track, and even just the slight extra lag of having the music on makes a big difference here.
Yeah, and it's such a shame too. A lot of people remember this game having an incredible soundtrack, and you don't really get to hear that unless you run unless you watch 100% runs and that kind of thing, where going into the menu and turning the music off every time we reset the game is actually not as fast as just leaving it on. So that's music causing lag is also something that's it's present in almost every single Nintendo 64 game that people know very well. It's the same reason why if you were to play Mario Kart 64 with 4 players, the music is automatically turned off because the developers knew it. It caused quite a bit of lag, and it's really problematic. So they do the same thing in this game too. If you play 4 players in this game, not only is it really laggy to begin with, but the music is automatically turned off.
So now we're at an interesting point where tridenttail has completed the easiest 3 and Mano has completed the harder pair. So it's still really difficult to tell. I believe Trident probably has a bit of an advantage, but Trident still has a lot of the stages where you can lose a really large amount of time in a hurry to go ahead of him.
Yeah, it's like the first two tracks in the last trophy race are really bonk heavy. Trident is, I know Trident's, one of Trident's favorite tracks on here is Dark Moon Caverns, or as I've heard Giz call it before, Bonk Moon Caverns, which is a really accurate name for it. It's a very bonk heavy track if you don't put hours into it to try to really get those inputs precise. But the track before that again is Space Dust Alley, which we saw Mano do first. Another really difficult track in the plane, so bonking is even worse in the plane there, losing about 5 seconds per bonk since you usually hit 0 speed.
Greenwood Village.
So Mano's entering Walrus Cove now here on the right. This is one of those tracks that I think really separates the good car players in Diddy Kong Racing from the people who are just kind of average at it. It's really unforgiving in terms of the angles and just how it's laid out in general. For instance, you just saw Mano bounce there out of nowhere. He actually just happened to clip the ice that are on the sides of this path. Clipping the ice there, or even just driving on top of it, is going to bring your speed to 0, and you're gonna bounce all over the place, which is really detrimental and uses up a lot of time. Not only that, but there's a lot of awkward drifting around some of these corners, which can cause quite a few bonks every now and then. These walls here in this little canyon really tend to they make your car stick almost. It's like a magnet for whatever reason. So seeing people pull this one off with such ease and with a lot of profession it's actually very impressive.
Yeah, another thing that makes Walrus Cove even more difficult than it looks is that when the track is bouncy, like especially at the end, anytime you're off the ground, the car just doesn't respond to your stick turning because obviously your wheels aren't on the ground. And it can really throw you off, especially around the final corner where you feel like you're making the exact same move, but because you were slightly bounced into the air, your car just doesn't turn.
On the left here, we're hopefully going to see Trident pull off the easy strat for out of bounds. He gets it. All right. Good for him. That is, there's 2 strats to doing that out of bounds clip there, and you will probably see runners do, in a race like this, probably the easy one. If you're going for better times, you're probably going to go for the harder one. So there's the 3 balloon strat like Trident just did, where you get a huge boost and then barrel roll to get yourself over the hill. And then there's the 1 balloon strat, which you actually go through the windmill underneath it, and quickly turn before boosting and barrel rolling over the hill to get out of bounds. It's really precise, and it's actually only half the battle.
Yeah, once you're out of bounds, you'll notice that a lot of textures are one-sided, so there's not a lot of visual cues. You pretty much are flying by beginning map in the corner, and it's real easy to move just a little bit too far to one side and clip right back in bounds, and all that work to get out is gone.
It's a pain too, because I don't think we mentioned this yet, but the way out of bounds tricks work in this game is it looks at whether or not you've hit certain checkpoints along the track, and if you haven't hit them, it's going to give you a wrong way, and it's not going to let you finish. It's going to say, "Just kidding, you didn't get through lap 2 or lap 3 there. You got to go back and try to hit that marker again." And so you'll see a lot of the top runners will have a really hard time trying to just barely clip those targets so that they can finish the track faster by making sharper turns. And it is really painful to see a wrong way, you know, here and there. It's everyone's been there.
So that was a really good Dragon Forest from Trident.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously,
really
now we're to the tracks where anything can happen.
Yep. So this would be a really good showcase. Trident going through Space Dust Alley here. I think it'll do a good job of showing off how difficult it can be, putting into practice some of the tougher strats here. You're gonna see some of these barrel rolls get so damn close to the wall. It's scary. One little bonk and your setback's 5 whole seconds because you're at top speed for pretty much the entire duration of this track. So making a little mistake can really cost you a lot of time.
And of course, once you get off your usual pattern, those rocks that float back and forth across the long straightaway are in different positions from what you're used to, and suddenly you have to deal with them as well.
It's really a pain, man. Everything is just against you.
When you're not in a no reset race situation, there's a reason why almost everyone does FFL first, and it's all about getting Space Dust Alley done and out of the way.
That was
a really
good one. Yeah, that was extremely clean. Very well done by Trident. So Trident is on his third to last track here. Mano is entering the first, or he is just about to finish the first track of the second trophy, Sherbert Island, going into Pirate Lagoon. It'll be interesting to see what track Mano is on near the end here as he enters Spaceport Alpha. I think it'll make a really good comparison for those who know this game.
Pirate Lagoon is another one of those tracks where you watch some of the elite runners and you're just like, where did the time save even come from? Because hovercraft is so strange, the way snaking picks up speed, but sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you need to change the frequency that you're snaking, and the way to keep boosts is just so strange. Because when you use a boost in the hovercraft, a lot of times you come out of the boost and drop your speed almost down to 30 as opposed to your constant speed up over 60 if you don't know how to keep speed at the end of it. So it's really, with all these sharp turns, it's really a track where time just vanishes on you and you sort of don't know where it went.
It is really, really crazy. And one thing that's really interesting to mention about the hover car too is, while bonking in the plane is absolutely the worst thing that could happen to you, and bonking in the car is a huge setback as well, a lot of times bonking in a hover car isn't actually that bad of a thing. If you bonk at like a 45-degree angle or something against a wall, it's actually really lenient and allows you to keep a lot of your speed while you're racing. Which is cool, because it actually allows for some really interesting tricks on tracks like Boulder Canyon and even Pirate Lagoon there. You'll see a couple runners will purposely fling themselves into the very corner of one of the pillars to redirect themselves into the tunnel.
Oh, Trident was having a really good Star City, and then you just got trolled with that oil slick.
Yeah, those things just come out of nowhere. It's one of the other things that make not only this game so interesting, but this category is so interesting, is there's an element of luck and randomness. Sometimes you'll just come around the corner, and for some unknown reason, the AI decided to put an oil slick there today.
And so now Trident will be coming into the final track, and he'll be going for the Spaceport Alpha out of bounds. And this is a good example of a race where the key checkpoints in order to get through a lap really don't correspond so much to the track. There's only 3 of them on the entire track. So you just need to, once you get out of bounds, you just need to fly into a triangle. And
all right, he's out. Awesome. Yeah, so what you're going to be looking at here, which it's really evident, is just check out the mini map, watch the gray little arrow. All he's going to do is a little triangle, and that's all it takes. And it saves so much time. The plane tracks in this category for sure are such huge time saves. Holy shit. Oh wow, sub 26. Nice. All right, Mano entering the last trophy race here, Ancient Lake. And I think this is actually an awesome opportunity to say a little bit about some of these dyno tracks and how deceivingly difficult they can be.
right, the dyno races obviously are quite easy, but that's only really because the AI is set to really slow speeds because it's the first world and they're, you know, getting new players through the levels. But to actually speedrun and do these tracks well is a totally different story. And in fact, Fossil Canyon and Jungle Falls can be 2 of the more technical tracks in the entire game, even though they're, you know, the second and third tracks.
For sure. I think some of like the Fossil Canyon is probably the best example of just really great optimization with using canyon lists and that kind of thing to save time here and there. And that main trick alone can really get you some great times on this track. A lot of it, the rest of it is just good execution of turning and A-tapping and that kind of thing. That pond jump there can be pretty tricky to hit. Sometimes it'll just fling you into the arch overhead, and you'll bonk and lose a bunch of speed and time to that. But overall, in comparison to, I think, Ancient Lake and Jungle Falls are really interesting tracks. People, high-level runners will consistently get very good times on it that for whatever reason, I can't fathom getting them myself. They just... again, it's one of those things where you just don't know where those seconds are saved.
Right. One of the big ones on Jungle Falls is on the second to last zip when you come out of the tunnel. There's a little dip in the ground off to the right, and if you can use that to get yourself airborne, you actually lose boost a lot slower when you're off the ground in the car. So if you can hit that dip in the ground perfectly to throw yourself up in the air, you can keep the boost almost all the way down to the next zipper. Unfortunately, if you're even slightly off to the right, you can see that time Mano hit the dip perfectly and it kept his boost all the way down to the zipper. But if you hit slightly off to the right, you can run into that tree. If you hit it at a slightly too sharp angle, it like throw you sideways into the wall. And of course, if you're trying to do that while the AI are all around you because you're lapping them, they can get in the way and just completely block you out.
Good luck to Mano here, heading into the final track, Hot Top Volcano. Awesome. It is really terrifying to go into this last track here on on PB pace or something and that is a relatively easy clip to get out of bounds with. In terms of a lot of, if you just kind of pick the game up, ooh, that's too bad. Back in bounds. If you just kind of pick the game up and puts a little bit of time into it, nice, you hit it again.
There we go.
Backup
Yep,
strat. All right.
Yep.
Very good.
That backup's a lot more difficult than the original clip.
For
but
sure.
It is very good to know because, like you just saw, this is another track where it's very easy to clip back in bounds.
I myself have saved a couple PBs thanks to that backup. Shoutouts to Trident for telling me about it because I had no idea it existed.
Now this almost looks like 100% strats coming back in. You don't actually save any time doing that in all trophy races, but a lot of players will come back in for the finish in 100% where you need to pause on the finish line for a cutscene skip. And that's obviously a lot easier to do when the finish line is actually visible.
Right. No doubt about that. It's actually almost hard to hit time on Hop Top Volcano because you're not always entirely sure when you're going to cross it. All right, so that is the first race here. This is a best of 3 between Trident and Mano. So we are going to see one more race, maybe 2 more, from these 2 racers tonight. So get hyped for that. All right, so hopefully we'll get some we'll both start on the same trophy race this time. We'll get a good side-by-side going then. Definitely interesting to kind of see the two different routes side by side like this though. See FFL first on the right and Dino Domain, pardon me, on the left there. It's cool. I haven't gotten to watch a race like that yet, so interesting to not really know exactly how to make those time comparisons when Future Funland has such difficult tracks, and Dino Domain is really not so much the case in terms of losing time or even saving time.
Right, and in a race situation, it can actually be a lot more comfortable starting with Dino first. You could really settle into the run, and you're not worried so much about losing a PB to a bad space dust all the way at the end of the run. You know, because even if you do have a bad space dust first, you're not going to be resetting because it's a race. But if you're going for a PB, you almost definitely want to start with space dust because it's clearly the most reset heavy track.
Yeah, it is oddly comforting to race from Dino first, because I know for me, the first race I got to do here on Speed Gaming, it's the first speed running race I had done, period. And your heart's racing pretty quick when you're like, oh, this is in front of a large group of people. I hope I play well and I don't just dumpster. I hope this isn't just a dumpster fire of a speed run, and the whole community has to see it. So it is nice to just be able to get through the Dino Domain tracks, get through some of the easy stuff first, and settle in and say, okay, I know what I'm doing. You know, you don't have to start out on Space Dust, the hardest track in the game, and say, well, I hope I do well.
Yep, so it looks like they are going to do FFL first. Mano, this is Mano's first race, and it looks like he didn't know that the format was best of 3, but he's up and running now.
And as far as I know, is this the first race that we've had so far where they start an FFL, or the ones I've watched? I have not gotten a chance to watch all of them, but most of them have started in Dyno first. So,
all the ones I've seen have been Dyno first as well. Yep. So this will be our first that I've seen, our first FFL first race.
Cool.
So this is going to look a lot more like what you would see from someone attempting a PB as opposed to more of a race condition.
It'll be a really good side-by-side in terms of showcasing some of the speed tech in this game. Seeing both this really hard plane track right next to each other, and how big of a time difference there is for someone who's practiced it a lot and someone who's maybe a little bit more mid-tier. It's really interesting. I know the dyno races I've seen so far have kind of been it's not entirely obvious that you know, one person might be seed 1 and one person might be seed 4, because generally speaking those racers come out generally even at the end of dyno. But FFL is so difficult. It'll be kind of cool to see, you know, how hard these tracks really are.
Tough start for Mano. And there you see why a lot of racers would start PB attempts in Space Dust, because you wouldn't have to take that bonk right at the start of Space Dust. You could play it aggressively, and if you hit a wall, you can just reset. But that's not the case in a race.
You get really good at that input of just hitting restart and starting the timer again, because, ooh, harsh bonk for Trident there. That's just, ugh. Again, we've all, every DKR runner has been there. Not fun. I can't blame him for the honks of frustration. Space bonk alley indeed, lore. There's a lot of bonk on this track. Pretty much every corner. Trident starting out with Bonk Moon Caverns. Hopefully it won't bonk. I've seen him do this track quite a few times, and it being one of his favorites, he is quite good at it, so it's awesome. And off of that first zipper there on this track, we just saw Mano go through. If you're not careful, it's actually really easy to hit your head on the roof of the tunnel there. Like, way easier than it might look. And there are actually strats that I didn't know about for dealing with that. If you are airborne in the car, and the hovercraft as well, you can use the control stick to tilt your car forward or backwards to kind of gain height or lose height, which is something I never knew about until I started running the game. It's really an interesting piece of info.
One of two places I can think of where you want to, you know, hold up on the joystick when you're catching air because you don't want to hit the ceiling. The other place I can think of where you want that is in Star City, when you have that zipper right after the little bounce, and you want to get back down and make sure you actually get the boost. Otherwise, you actually do want to keep air for as long as possible, because like we were talking about with Jungle Falls, when you get the car airborne, you lose speed a little slower, so you keep the boost.
Star City.
I swear, I learn something every single time I watch people play this game. It's unbelievable. Like, I had just heard about that trick the other day, and how you can use it kind of in Frosty Village. There's a large hill that you can pull back on and get yourself a lot of height and stay at that speed for as long as you can. And I didn't even think to use it in Star City, which you'll see Trident is racing on right now. There's a little tiny zipper right at the end of the downhill tunnel after the bridge. And if you're going too fast, you'll hop right over it. But I'm assuming that's what Trident does here, is he actually holds down on the control stick, tilting his car downwards, making him lose height and hit that more accurately and making sure he gets it every time.
Yep, in laps 2 and 3, it's not enough just to hold up on the joystick as you go over there, because by then you usually have 10 bananas. You actually do need to ease up a little bit on the A-tapping, but it definitely helps, and you don't need to slow down as much to avoid leaping over it.
I suppose we haven't even talked about bananas at all. For anybody wondering out there, there are bananas laid out on all the tracks, obviously, and collecting them will actually make you go faster by increasing your top speed and acceleration in each vehicle that you're racing in. So ideally, when you're speedrunning this game and you go through these tracks a couple times, your main goal usually on the first lap is to try and get as many bananas as you can, 10 being the max. You'll see Mano has exactly 10 right now. From what I've heard, and I don't know if this is entirely accurate, to be honest, each banana increases your top speed and acceleration by 1%. So that would equal 10% by the end of it. I don't know if that's accurate at all. If you have any lightning comment on that.
I believe that's the intended behavior, but you actually get a slightly bigger boost out of it because of the A-tapping and the way you get the boost every time you let go of A. That is magnified by the increase in acceleration that the bananas give you.
Okay, cool. Again, learning something every single time. So you'll see on out-of-bounds tracks like this, they won't always have the chance to get 10 bananas, so they will try to get as many as they can. On Spaceport Alpha, I believe you can get 7 or 8 before you go out of bounds. On Windmill Plains, which is the other really difficult out-of-bounds trick, people usually try to go for 8. But it's usually not possible to hit that 10.
Right, and there are also tracks where the bananas are just so far out of the way that it's not worth getting 10. You lose more time going for them than you gain from having them. But generally, a lot of times you'll see players even give up a boost in lap 1 if they can pick up 3 or 4 bananas in turn. Because picking them up real early in the race will add up to more time saved over the course of the entire track.
This is actually the only hover track, typically speaking, that people will go for 10 bananas on. The other 2 hover tracks in the run are in the second trophy, Sherbert Island, with Whale Bay and Pirate Lagoon. The Whale Bay bananas you can max out at 7. The other bananas you can get are just a little bit too far out of the way, and usually not worth going for. Same thing can actually go for Pirate Lagoon. They are almost frustratingly out of the way, because you could go and grab them. You'll see when we get to that track later. They're just far enough out there that going for them would lose you a couple seconds.
Oh, and we see Mano hit a log, and on Boulder Canyon here, you can get away with a lot of bonks without losing much time, because like we said before, you don't lose your speed in the hover when you bonk, but those logs will stop you, they will change which direction you're going. They have no respect for the laws of physics.
Not at all. Trident is on one of the other really technical car tracks in this game, Greenwood Village. A lot of really tight turns with a lot of zippers in inconvenient places. This turn here where he grabs that blue balloon at the very corner of the of the bend there is so frustrating to grab, because you actually will lose a couple frames, and it's very, very hard to get that input perfect. To just quickly swing by, grab that blue, and then boost over the hill, save some time. This race is doing the races in reverse order.
Yeah, one of the other things you might have seen was this is one of the few times that Trident will actually pick up and use his shield. There's just so many mines left on Greenwood Village that it's worth picking up. One of the reasons that you don't go for shields on other tracks as Trident approaches the Windmill Plains out of bounds here is that every time you press the Z button, you have a chance of triggering the AIs to use their items. So every time you use an item, you increase the amount of oil slicks and mines and bubbles that you'll have to deal with later. Now obviously for a blue balloon it's worth it, but generally for other types it's not worthwhile to use any of the other balloons.
Once again, something I did not know. Is that just one of those kind of like random input things that really helps decide that, or?
I don't know exactly what causes them, but once it's pointed out, you'll notice a lot that when you use boost, you hear the rocket noise in the background at the exact same time. The other time that it can actually be really useful at the start of Space Dust, if you don't grab the red balloon right off the starting line, and you have trouble with the AI shooting you with a rocket, you can actually honk your horn just as you get to that third banana, and a lot of times the AI will shoot off the rocket, and then you don't have to worry about it.
You know, part of me actually kind of hopes that that's something they programmed in, to assume that if you're honking, you're taunting them. Toss a rocket your way and teach you what's what. So last race, we did not get to see these two go do the same trophy races at the same time. They started opposite of each other, Trident in Dyno and Mano in FFL. But it's pretty cool to see them side by side like this. It's a much better showcase of where one runner might be saving time or one might be losing time to get to see Mano behind only by one track right now. But Trident hitting the Windmill Plains out of bounds is going to save him a lot of time. And you'll see Mano going through the whole track. It is a very long and unforgiving track. So
now that they're in the same order, we can see just how much time saved that Windmill Plains out of bounds actually is. And it is a very difficult trick, even though you called the 3-balloon method the quote-unquote easy way. There's nothing easy about it.
No, that is absolutely the truth. I think, I'm not entirely sure on this at all, but I think the reason people usually go for that 3-balloon strategy is you need to be going at top speed to actually get out of bounds there. So getting 3 blue balloons, you'll get the super purple boost. And stacking balloons in this game gives you different items. So if you were to get two reds, you wouldn't just get a missile, you get a heat-seeking missile. When you do it with blues, you get stronger boosts. They don't actually make you go faster. All of them make you go the same speed, but they accelerate you for longer. So I think, generally speaking, the reason the 3-balloon one is a little bit safer, or a little bit, maybe a little bit easier to execute, is because you're going at top speed for the entire duration. Whereas if you do the 1 balloon, you only have that 1 balloon to really nail your top speed.
Right, and the amount of time that you get the upper tier boosts are not double and triple. So generally speaking, you're better off using single blue balloons multiple times than collecting several all at once. There are a few rare exceptions to that. Uh, Usually, if you have a really long straightaway, you can make good use of a higher tier balloon. But those aren't particularly common, so you're typically going to be using each blue balloon at the lowest level.
Especially since they keep you going so fast for so long, the game just gets so hard to control at that speed. It's usually easier. Not only is it faster, but it's easier to just use the one boost. Ooh, that is a rough mine there at the end for Trident. Again, they really do. There's some areas where it's almost guaranteed that the AI will have placed an oil spill or a bomb somewhere, and there's some areas where, for some reason, you've just never seen a mine or a puddle there before. It just shows up. Awesome Walrus Skull from Trident there. Mano going into Everfrost Peak. This is one of the more frustrating tracks for newer players to learn. Again, it's a plane track, and this is where a lot of the top runners save so much time, is in these plane tracks. What makes Everfrost Peak so interesting is if you are playing optimally, you pretty much won't be touching the A button for the duration of the course. Naturally, that's very difficult to do, but it gives some light to how fast you can really go if you work on, saving all that speed up and keeping it consistent throughout the course.
Yeah, one dynamic in this game that a lot of new players are surprised to learn is that when you're at all boosted, the A button slows you down. It actually always pushes you towards your normal maximum speed. And because you can boost the plane with a barrel roll, an ideal plane run doesn't touch the A button after the beginning, because you should always be able to go faster than the A button takes you.
Yeah, that is one of the more backwards things that when you first start to practice this game. Certainly, I know in the story mode, Taj the elephant will actually hint at you to not hold the A button while going over zippers, and just to see what happens, and that obviously tips you off to getting the green boost. But I didn't realize for years that you go really fast if you continue to not touch the A button, because I just get the green boost and then go back to holding the A button right away. But it's very strange. I've never really played anything like it where that kind of mechanic exists, I suppose.
So Trident's now out of the snow world, and we're going to see the hover tracks again as he moves on to Sherbet Island.
Whale Bay.
These 4 bananas at the beginning of Whale Bay here are by far the farthest I think we go for any bananas. Because you do actually skip by a blue balloon, but getting those 4 bananas increases your top speed enough to really make a difference over the course of the race. So it's worth it.
Another place where you'll see us go out of the way for bananas is on Snowball Valley at the very start there. The left path has 2 blue balloons and is shorter, but the right path has 8 bananas while the left only has 2. So for the first lap, we go to the right and collect those extra bananas. And sometimes, like Mano just did, you get lucky and none of the AI go to the left and you manage to collect both sets.
Yeah, and Snowball Valley is definitely one of those tracks where if you manage to chain all those blue balloons together, you can go faster than you would going the banana route. But you have to be really precise in your inputs to make sure you hit them. That blue balloon right at the end of the track there is really hard to hit. Trident getting a blue boost going into that boost there, which he clips right through. Okay, then. Again, one of the nifty little quirks about Diddy Kong Racing. Sometimes you just will go right through something. A 59, awesome sub 1 for Trident on Pirate Lagoon.
Yep, you can actually get enough speed in this game that you can go right through things because you're entirely through them before the hitbox notices you're there.
It happens a lot, and I don't know why exactly, but there are multiple places on, like on Star City, one of the future Funline tracks, where you'll be going through a boost at top speed, and you actually have to turn a little bit in order to pick up one of the blue balloons. If you go straight through it, you're not going to pick it up, period. Almost every time you'll go right through it. But if you turn ever so slightly, you will grab it, which is really weird and interesting, but I'm not exactly sure why it happens.
Yep, so now we're starting to see Trident pick up more of a lead in terms of courses ahead. It's a combination, both of these had several clean races in a row here, and also the tracks are getting shorter, so even if the time difference is the same, the number of courses is going to seem to increase as we go through, as we get into the first world and the easier tracks in the big ring.
I think there's essentially there's kind of two sorts of car tracks in Diddy Kong Racing, probably more. There's really short ones that go by really fast and require a little bit of luck and a lot of optimization and a lot of consistency. And then there's longer ones, which are less so, and they're a little bit more lenient most of the time. The one Trident's on right now, Treasure Caves, can be maddening in a lot of different ways, just because there's so many boosts to hit and the terrain is so different from each point in the track. It's extremely difficult to save time when you're not entirely sure where your car is going to end up.
Right, and it's also very easy on that track to lose a ton of time if you hit one of those boosts at a bad angle and shoot out into the water. You go right down to 0 speed, and then your max speed is really slow while you climb your way back to the track.
Another interesting tidbit just about some of the A-tapping mechanics in the car. So if you're driving straight and you're not turning, tapping A is obviously the fastest. But when you are turning, you want to try to drift as often as you can. Drifting and tapping A makes you go fast, even faster than you are when you're not drifting. However, if you drift out of a boost, you'll actually go slower than you would if you were just regular turning out of that boost. So it's kind of deceiving as to what is the best strategy for accomplishing, a really fast time here or there.
So once again, we're going to see the canyonless trick. And this is another place, Trident got the balloon there, but if you actually execute canyonless really well, you can come out of that jump there so fast that you go right through one of those blue balloons.
Or more frustratingly so, right in between them. By some miracle.
It's a really narrow gap, and it seems to be shockingly easy to hit for how small it really is. And that's a 3 for 3 canyon list for Trident. That's a really good fossil canyon. And of course, as soon as I said that, he hit one of those weird angles on the ground and it dropped his speed to 0. Because that's just one of those things that Diddy Kong Racing does.
On Mano's side here, there's a tiny little bump right before that second zipper on Crescent Island. That one gets me a lot. You'll hit the left side of it and it'll fling you off to the right for no reason. And you'll just miss the zipper.
Yep. Classic rare physics on the N64. A bump angled to the left throws you off to the right because that's just what it does.
Yep, it's really strange and really frustrating to just kind of have to accept missing one of the zippers, and it feels so wrong too because you expect to be going fast and not tapping the A button and skipping by a lot of stuff, but you just kind of have to slowly get over it and make your way to the next zipper.
And Trident gets out of bounds in Hot Top Volcano. Now he just has to stay out of bounds and hit the checkpoint at either end, and this should be a really good time.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see Mano on the right there on Treasure Caves again for himself. Some people use that blue balloon in a lot of different ways, and one way that they use it is we'll chain it together with the 2 boosts right before the hill after the finish line. And if you hit it just right, you can fling yourself through, grab the blue balloon again for the next lap, and then hit that zipper. But it doesn't happen very often. It's really precise and kind of, it almost feels luck-based.
And
25-26 for Trident there. Awesome. Good time. GG to Trident. Way to go. All right, Mano starting his last trophy race here, going into Ancient Lake. You see, he got the yellow boost there at the beginning. There's 2 different kinds you can get. You can get the yellow boost or the blue boost, and you want the blue one because it's faster. Oh, we got some music too. Awesome. There's a couple different ways of timing out when to press the A button to get that boost at the beginning of every race. For me, it's actually a visual thing. It's right when Get Ready is fading away. But I've heard for others it's actually an audio thing where they'll wait a certain amount of time after Get Ready to hit it.
Fossil Canyon.
Oh, nice save there from Mano, getting back onto the track. That's tough to do, coming off of that ramp right before the end of right before the finish line there. If you don't hit it the right way, you can fling yourself off into the dirt and lose a ton of time to that. Naturally, driving on the dirt makes you go a lot slower, and if you actually do ever get off the track by accident, holding the A button is faster than tapping it when you're not on the track.
Right. The other thing you'll see at the very end of each lap is Mano holds the blue balloon for a short bit after collecting it and uses it going up the hill. That's both because you catch air after it and because in general, if you can use a boost on an uphill portion of the track, it's slightly more efficient than using it on a flat portion.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty prevalent way of using blues on most of the car tracks. It's used in Greenwood Village, that's a big one. If you miss that blue with that really tight turn, you can lose like a full second or something going up that tiny little hill. So missing that's pretty upsetting.
And you can see the hazards there of that attempt to use the divot to catch air off the second to last zipper. He got just a little tiny bit to the right, and that tree just takes all the speed away.
Going all the way around the dyno. Already.
Well, that dyno's mouth can actually be pretty scary if you aren't certain that you're going to get between it, because of the way it's angled. If you get stuck against that wall, it does not let you just drive sideways along it. It sort of holds onto you, and you have to turn all the way around to get out of it. It's one of the more painful bonks in the game.
For sure. The other thing I think might have happened there, and I say this because it's happened to me all the time, is Mano might have actually inputted the right input to switch directions or even stop drifting, but one of his tires or part of the car might have left the ground at that moment, and he might have lost control and just kept on drifting.
Yep.
You just kind of have to adapt to it and go with it, and it might be frustrating, but you can't really... in such a short race like all trophy races, it's really hard to, try to keep your composure after like a bad track or something, and not let it get to you. Keep on playing, keep on trying to execute everything as best you can. It's tough.
Alright, I don't think Mano had live split running, so I don't know exactly what time he got, but he finishes out with the out of bounds on Hot Top Volcano and gets a pretty clean end to the run.
Yeah, good run from four good runs from both runners here. Awesome sub 26s from Trident, hitting that windmill planes out of bounds and hitting all the tricks really, really well. Good match. I don't know, do we want to do any kind of interview or anything like that?
Let's see, I know at least Trident has commentator access, so he can jump in if he's available. So taking a look at the Speed Gaming 3 schedule, it looks like this is the final event for tonight.
Yeah, I believe so. I think tomorrow, around 9 p.m. EDT, got Pigert versus Endirect du Nord, so that'll be cool. And then a couple matches on Friday as well.
Yep, and Speed Gaming 3 will be back at 2 p.m. with a Cuphead run. And also
It looks like we got Trident in here now.
1, 2, and 4 are still going to be going.
How's it going, Trident?
Hello. It's going.
So how you feeling about some of your races?
Well, I'm glad I got 25s today. My last race, they were both 26s. So I'm glad that I was able to improve on the first race. The first game of this race, though, I was not happy with at all. But the second race, I'm very happy with.
Well, in the first race, you definitely pulled out a very fast Space Dust Alley.
Yeah, like that's the weird thing. Like whenever I start with Dino Domain, I always, for some reason, I clutch out a Space Dust Alley. And here's the thing, right? So I haven't played DKR since Saturday. So I was like practicing a little bit before the race, and I was playing so bad. So I was like, okay, here we go. This is gonna be like really bad runs. And I practiced a couple races, but Space Dust Alley I haven't practiced like at all. And like boom, 116. I was like, what? Okay. Sounds good.
Out of curiosity, what is your PB on Space Dust?
So 115.
Awesome. That's an awesome time for in a race.
Mm-hmm. It's a high 115 too, like really high. It's like 115.90 something. So like to get 1 second off your PB in like any race is good. Like if I like I'd have sub 25 if I got 1 second off of every race, off of every like PB, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And out of curiosity, you got to do a 100% run recently for a stream, right?
Yeah, so yeah, like that's what I did on Saturday. I was at EGLX, which is like a big Canadian gaming expo, and they had like a speedrunning showcase there too. So I was playing Diddy Kong Racing there.
Sweet, that sounds like a lot of fun. Big crowd at all?
Yeah, I mean it was streamed online, so there was like a couple people watching there, but like yeah, the convention center was like packed. So like they obviously like they weren't like coming to watch me, but like you get some people that like walk by and they're like, "Oh, what the hell is this? Like why are we playing this old game from 1997?" And yeah, it's kind of cool to like kind of like amaze the passersby, I guess. Yeah.
For sure, it's really cool just to see. I know at a lot of the GDQ events, a lot of runners will comment on, you know, apologies for destroying your childhood game, you know, that kind of thing. Just because it is amazing to see some of these players just annihilate, you know, like some of these DKR tracks and stuff, and even a lot of our commentary during these runs were like, you know, watching top runners play like Pirate Lagoon and stuff, and it's just, where do they save seconds? It makes no sense watching it back. It's crazy.
Yeah. But the thing about like the GDQ is like you kind of, that's what you go there for. Like that's what you expect, right? Whereas like this event like had like a lot of casual gamers, like some like professional gamers, like or like people who just love games. So it wasn't catering to like an all speedrunning crowd. So that's kind of new to. Or that's kind of exciting to potentially expose people to this side of the gaming world.
And it's such a weird side. I know I mentioned to a couple of my friends that I'd be helping commentate tonight, and they actually showed up in chat, which is really cool of them. But just like talking to them and trying to explain to them, you know, like some of the mechanics of this game or whatever, it's
a messed up concept, right?
It's really weird.
It's like you try to explain it to people, it's just like, okay, you play games over and over and over again. It's, yeah, basically that's what I do. I play the same game for like 40 hours a week. That's what I do.
And it's interesting because it's, a lot of people think it's about the game, and it's actually almost, for me, it's almost never about the game. It's about the time. It's about those numbers ticking up. Man, that's the addicting part for me.
It's super addicting, and especially with Diddy Kong Racing, which is such a hard game. It's really hard. It's like so fast paced. There's like so many inputs. Like very precise turning. Like it's hard. So any little tiny piece of success that you get just feels amazing and just further fuels the addiction.
Oh yeah, I know. I freak out every time I PB just because it's like, even if it's by a couple seconds or something, it's like, oh yes, I improved.
Yeah, you gotta celebrate even the little victories, right? Like, you know, like even when you
just
get
pulling
like
out a new gold split is often just as exciting. Well, not just as exciting as a full PB, but just knowing that your ceiling is continuing to improve, even if you don't PB, it's just satisfying to keep seeing, that your skill cap just keeps improving.
Yeah, that's the thing that's like kind of a new thing for me is like when you're learning a game, you're like all about the PB. It's just like I just want to PB and PB and PB and just get better and better and better. But once you get to like sort of like where the top is, then the PBs are gonna start being more and more infrequent because you have to really grind for them. So what gets you through is those gold splits. Knowing that, okay, this run might not be the run, but I just did this segment the fastest I've ever done it, and now you see your sum of best like go down, and you see like what time you can potentially get. Like that kind of takes over as opposed to like just like I'm all about the PB. There's a point where like you get really good at a game and it just shifts. It's not so much about that, because like if you're just all about the PB, you're gonna burn out because like you can't PB every day.
This is also an amazingly difficult game to be consistent in. I think I was looking the other day, and I believe Giz has more time save in his world record for this than like Cheese does in his 70-star run, because it's just that there are so many little optimizations that you just can't hit them all in one.
Yeah.
And just looking at that sum of best segments is amazing. It's crazy, like how. I honestly blame the frame rate for consistency. It's remarkable how consistent some runners can still be at this game, even when hit Frosty Village. It's like all of a sudden your controller just stopped doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your goals for this game in the future?
Goals? Well, I've got a couple goals for this year. I really want a 24 in ATR. My PB right now is 25.07, so I definitely think it's I can get it this year. I've been told like it's a rough road to get sub 25, but I think I can pull it off. I'm so close. And like as for the other categories, I want a 152 and 100%, and I'm like really close there. I've got a 153.21, and then I want to get a sub 40 and any percent, which is going to be terrible to grind for.
Any percent is a different beat.
Yeah. And there's also like this new thing that's kind of that people have started running in the wake of like the tricky skip being discovered, is like people are running 100% glitchless. So I've done like 2 runs of that, and I will probably look to improve that time too, but that's kind of like on the back burner. Like the 3 main categories, like I want to hit all those goals this year.
You just recently got that 100% PB, right? That was about what, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, not too long ago. Yeah, and I got the 153.21, and then like kind of stopped for a bit. And then I played a little bit kind of in preparation for my showcase run, and like I was playing really well, and I didn't PB, but I got like really close, and it kind of just like renewed my confidence again. So I'm ready to kind of tackle that.
Yeah, I know for me, I just want to try and get under 26 minutes, which would be an unbelievable accomplishment for myself. But I think if I put in the time to optimize, it might happen. And then I'd love to join you guys on that 100% leaderboard.
Well, you're kind of killing it right now. Like you've improved so fast. Like it's really crazy to watch you progress. And I actually like I don't like ATR. I really don't like ATR. I like 100%. And so I can't wait to watch you run 100% because that's what I'm really interested in. And if you can like improve in ATR like so quickly, I can't wait to like see you get sub 2 like in 100%. Like it should be no problem for you.
I'm really excited for it. It'll be a much different experience since ATR is so short. To put in the time to try and grind out some 100%s. It's an awesome category to watch, though. I know I got to watch you get your 153.21 live, and that was so crazy just to see like how much it takes out of you. It looks so exhausting in terms of like just trying to keep it up and trying to keep your composure and try to stay focused that whole time.
Yeah, it's definitely like mentally taxing.
Right. One of the most taxing things about 100% is that you're literally trying to skip every cutscene with the cutscene skip trick at the end of every race, plus resetting after boss races. So for it, it's not only a 2-hour run; it's a 2-hour run with almost no downtime at all.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You have to be on all the time. And once you like make a mistake, it's like easy to just like crumble. You need to like rally past the mistakes. And it's tough, but it's a great category. It really showcases everything that the game has to offer. Like every single trick, like the good and the bad. Like, yeah, tricky skip is annoying. Cutscene skips are annoying, but honestly, like if you run a glitchless category is a solution to that, but it takes out all the other good stuff that I like about 100%. So yeah, 100% is my category.
And like anything else, even the annoying stuff as you get better at it can be very satisfying. When you move from getting 10 out of 40 cutscene skips to 30 out of 40, you save a lot of time on that, and it's really satisfying. Just chain a whole bunch together and get yourself a nice good time in a world because you hit all the cutscene skips.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching you get that PB. You needed to hit pretty much every skip in Future Funland, the last world of the game. I was just like about to throw up watching you hit it every time. It was like, oh my god, he did it. It was so crazy to watch.
Yeah, that was yeah.
That was clutch. That was really clutch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you have any other questions, Blue Sox, or anything you wanted to talk about?
I think that's just about it for tonight.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, for anybody still listening out there or watching out there, if you ever want to give this game a shot, I really highly suggest it. The community for it is really, really amazing. Just drop by the Discord and say hi. There's always somebody around to chat with or to ask for help, that kind of thing. And we
pretty much if you stream this game, people are going to jump into your chat as well, because we do have a lot of people who enjoy watching this game as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know I've never had view counts like this while my time streaming. It's crazy. It's really cool to see who drops by and see who says hi. And
we're a dedicated bunch, provided you don't play on emulator.
Yeah, that's right. Emulator is banned for this entire game as a speedrunning community. We embrace the lag in terms of that. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and
Thank you
if you'd like to.
Thank you for commentating.
Yeah, of course. It's an absolute blast. This is my first experience with it, so hopefully I did an okay job.
You did wonderful.
Did well, especially when I dropped out on you.
Yeah, that was a little bit scary for a second. Like, oh, I hope he comes back. If you want to catch some more DKR, there is a match scheduled for Thursday, March 15th, tomorrow. Looks like 9 p.m. Eastern. Couple matches on Friday and a ton of matches coming up this Saturday. So make sure you drop by and check those out if you'd like to see more. So, yeah, thanks again for watching.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you, everyone.